Thank you guys for watching the Animal One Guy YouTube videos. If you like this video, please leave a like and even comment below. And if you like all my content, please hit the subscribe button. And why not click the bell icon for notifications too? That way you can see all my videos. Give me the ball. Hey everybody, that's right. We're here at the turtle tank again for a quick video. And it's like, help me. My turtles are not being fed. This is what I get told all the time. When people see my turtles, and I go by and I talk about the turtles, they're always like this. They're always going crazy. They always want to eat. Look at them all, except for Kwame. Why is this? And I thought this is a very, very important time to, let's just get this video out of the way, address it so everyone knows what's going to understand. And this will also help people who own pet turtles, which is really important. So, and I've mentioned this before because you guys have seen, I feed my turtles everything. Different types of turtle-based food, pellets, sun-dried shrimp, free-dried shrimp, feeding fish, even small pinky mice, vegetables, go through the line. Well, why do I do this? Well, and why do they always act hungry? Which is the other point that we have to address. So, turtles are really creatures of opportunity. They're opportunity feeders. They're scavengers. What does that mean? That means that turtles will eat really anything they can fit in their mouth. Sometimes they'll even try to eat smaller turtles when they're a full-size turtle and there's a baby turtle. They can't always eat it, but they will try, and that's the key. So, do you ever see like super obese turtles in the wild? No, you don't really. Even though turtles will just about eat anything whenever there's food presented to them, and that's the key, because in the wild, they don't have a 24/7 access to a food source. And that's the important part. So, but as a pet, they come to recognize you as the owner, and they will recognize that you supply them with food. So what can happen is every time they see you, the owner, enter the room, especially for the beginning portion of being in the room, they are coming and they are begging for food like a dog would. It's not that they're hungry, but it's just that they will eat. They want to eat. They want you to give them food because they will eat the food. Do they need the food? No, they don't need the food. Would they want to eat it? Yes. Do you need to eat 5 pieces of cheesecake for dessert? No. Could you? Probably. It would be delicious, but no, you don't need that. So, when I walk in the room or I'm filming and you come by the tank, here come the turtles for their reactions. Now, why is this bad? If you were to just feed them every day, how often should you feed turtles? I'm going to go into that as well. So, let me start when they're young. When they are young and the turtle is growing, you can feed them baby turtles. You can feed them every day. As they get older, you adjust that to every other day, every 2. And now I feed them every 2 to 3 days. It depends on what I feed them. Why do you want to feed this way? So, feeding turtles every single day and a lot of food, like all the food that they can eat, will lead to turtle obesity. What happens, and that's not the only thing it will lead to, but so what happens with turtle obesity? So when a turtle gets super fat, their body grows different than their shell. So when the turtle goes to retract, the turtle will not be able to retract correctly underneath its shell because it doesn't really go into the shell, right? It goes underneath the openings of its shell. And that's a great way to see if your turtle is obese. Does it fit back inside of the shell correctly? If it doesn't, and everything else looks good, you probably got an obese turtle. Another thing that can happen. So, a lot of people will feed food that is high in protein. So here, this is Reptomin floating food sticks. It's one of the many sticks. It's got calcium, it's got vitamin C, yeah, formulated for turtles, etc., blah, blah, blah. And everything you will see will have guaranteed crude protein, you know, 42%, 42.5% specifically for that type of food. So why is that important? So protein is really good for turtles. In fact, it will make them feel full quicker. It will really fill up their stomachs. What's the downside of this amount of protein? It's actually the same downside to feeding too much protein to a tortoise. And you normally see this in tortoises, mentioned in tortoises, and you don't see it mentioned a lot in turtles, but let's look. Turtles can develop pyramiding on their shells, excuse me. Their scutes can grow incorrectly. They can space apart, they can grow up in the middle, and you can see that. So what you look for is you look for a turtle. Come here, April. Here's April O'Neil. Who's got a nice, even shell. You don't see any of the middle of the scutes where they grow from getting too crazy, so you don't see any pyramiding. So you know she's not obese, which is really nice. That's one of the many signs. She's not obese and she's not getting too much protein because her shell's not growing abnormally. What can happen if their shells grow abnormally? It can cause a turtle pain. You know, just like a tortoise, it's a sign of an unhealthy animal. You don't always see obesity in turtles, even if you are overfeeding, for the nature of how the turtle lives. Normally, how a turtle lives as a pet, compared to a bigger tortoise, the turtle gets more exercise. Because the turtle, when in a properly sized tank, is swimming around, is, you know, doing laps. They're getting that exercise. So that can help keep their weight in check, but you still shouldn't be overfeeding them because they will still look like they always want to eat. Now, what is a downside of trying to feed correctly, and are you overfeeding or are you underfeeding? So we went overfeeding, but there's one more variable that comes into play, and that is what happens when you house multiple turtles together. So in this case, I have 5 turtles, but they're not all the same species, so they're not all the same size. In fact, only 2 of them are the same species, but they're different genders. So, which is another variable. But when you house multiple turtles together, you can get some bullying that takes place when you feed, especially if you have turtles of grossly different sizes. So Big Bertha, she's 16 years old, red-eared slider, she's huge. We have a painted turtle who's also 16, but look at the size difference. Same age, different species, so age doesn't always have to do with it. Then we have 2 couple-year-old yellow-bellied and a male red-eared slider with April O'Neil and Casey Jones. Again, being a red-eared slider, Casey Jones is going to get larger. When you feed turtles together that are babies, and if they're the same species, you can tell if one is bullying for the food, if one is growing significantly quicker than the other. That's pretty easy to tell. So, because if you don't sit there and watch, but you just feed them together, and one is doubling and tripling in size and the other one's staying small, there's a high chance that the other one is sucking in all the food. Well, what happens when you have different species of turtles at different ages? So now you're talking completely different sizes, and she's not going to grow too much larger. She's just about getting to her full size. She's at full size. He's still growing greatly. There's things that you can do that don't just require watching them when you feed. Although, again, for any new turtle, I'd recommend you watch them when you feed. You look at their shell. Here we are back again to the shell. And you will look for the white in between the scutes to let you know that the turtle is growing. That means their shell is growing. What I notice with Kwame is they bully him when he eats, being a male African side neck. So when I feed Kwame, I take him out, I put him in a smaller tank, actually the storage bin that this goes to, and he knows that that's feeding time in there. He's super happy to go in, and I feed him by himself. Then when he's done, he gets put back in. You know, I put water in there because they need water. So hopefully this video answers a ton of questions about how much to feed your turtle, how often, how to monitor their progress. I try, guys. Thank you to everyone who asked these questions. So yes, these turtles always look hungry when you first see them, but then they mellow out because they're like, oh, no food? Darn. Take care, everybody.
Thank you guys for supporting my reptile rescue family.